Calling itself, I think.
It's getting incestuous.
Self-aware.
Self-aware. Oh, yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Oh,
We don't
scary.
need you on this call. We'll do it ourselves.
Yes.
Right, I'll
Yes.
send the link.
Just get Cortana to record the show.
Yeah.
I can't do that, Cortana. I can't do that, Ian.
Maybe you could have, we could have a show hosted by Cortana, Siri, and Hey Google.
I'll throw Vox Commando into the works as well.
Okay, the link is live.
Woohoo.
Right, so Jason and Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
Good
Gang's all
evening.
here.
Yeah, Gary's back.
The band's back together.
I can actually talk this week. That's pretty good.
Yes, you weren't feeling very well last week, were you?
I was struggling. But,
Poisoned.
Poisoned, yes. Well, food poisoning anyway.
That's what they think. That's what they say it is.
Yeah.
Someone's got at you already.
Yeah. That's it.
So, well, welcome back. It was a good show last week. So we talked lots of anniversary updates, but we've got anniversary update to talk about tonight because it's Windows 10 anniversary day today as we record Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah. Happy anniversary.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just a few days late, really, for the anniversary, isn't it? It's just it's
Yeah.
it's when the update's out.
Well, the Xbox nearly made it.
Nearly.
It's just over a year, isn't it? It just went to the launch event in London. They should have had a party for the anniversary.
They should have done.
The same location. I thought it was quite good, although it was a long way down for an evening, but it was still.
It was good fun.
Yeah. So we've got launch stuff to talk about, or anniversary stuff to talk about. We've got updates to talk about since we last recorded as well. We have got patches to the build. Surface Pro firmware. Is this the fix, Jason? Don't answer that yet.
Oh, don't. Okay.
I've got an email.
I've got an email. Glad you reminded me of that. I'll search for that because I did forget. I'll search for that as we're going through, and we've got some tips on doing the updates. I can talk about Lynx 1010. I know it's an old device, but my son bought one, so we can talk about my experience with that, and groove music and all sorts of stuff. So let's start off with the Surface battery thing. Just get the
let's start off with Battery Gate.
Battery Gate as now our regular. So
so I'm just pause at this point because I haven't got a Surface, so I'm just going to leave you two to argue this one out.
Well, there's now what are we on 48 pages on the forum now? I'm not exaggerating. That's real, isn't it? It is about 40.
Yeah, I think it's certainly getting up there now, and I think it's starting to get more and more irate. Just not so much the fact that people don't know or don't think Microsoft plan on fixing it. It's just the lack of communication. And then obviously today we get firmware updates, and everybody kind of downloads them with bated breath. And I think finally we've got some release notes as well. I don't know if you saw that. It's finally.
Oh, no, I haven't seen the release notes yet. No.
Let me see if I can find it. So I can reveal the votes have been counted and verified, and the firmware update released on the 1st of August does not address the battery gate issues. It addresses two things: improves stability and performance when changing between power states, and improves system stability with the Windows 10 anniversary update. Unfortunately, it does not allow Surface Pro 3 to work unplugged from the mains. Which is where we're at with many owners. I mean, they're literally and a few of them actually, and I'm not sure if this is definitely the case because I'm not at that point yet, but a few of them actually saying that they can't install updates because it says it's not, you need 40% battery charge for it to install updates. Now, I'm not convinced that's necessarily going to be an issue because the battery does think it's charged. So mine thinks it's 100% charged.
Yeah, it's just low capacity.
Yeah, but I just ran a battery report now and I'm down to 5,677. So not looking good at all. And of course, as I just said, we get these firmware updates. The only way to know is to deplete the battery and recharge it. But that's the worst thing we can do to our batteries because every time you deplete it, it's dropping. I mean, mine was at the beginning of June. I had something close to the maximum capacity charge, And I say it's down well down, almost 30,000 now.
Yeah, and I mean there are. I mean, it's 40. I've just checked. It's 43 pages, the forum.
Yeah.
And there are a few people saying they've got theirs to work by leaving it constantly docked and things like that, but there doesn't seem to be a definite way of doing it, because you're one of the people that does have it constantly docked.
Yeah, and also there's quite a few people chiming in saying that it looks like that potentially the actual bit of software that needs fixing is actually on the battery itself as part of the IC unit. So whether or not it's actually even updatable code is some people question, and I think there's some engineers on there. I really wouldn't have a clue one way or another, but for me it just comes back to the most frustrating thing, that it's just this lack of communication. We had one official response. Surely it wouldn't take much courtesy just to go, look guys, we're releasing a firmware update, unfortunately it's not, it doesn't address your issue, but we are still working on it. People have paid, it was £1,500 for these devices, and people are still phoning support and still being offered battery replacements at a fixed cost. It's just, Panos Panay talks about his passion for Surface and engineering them to within a millimeter of their lives kind of thing. But where's that passion when customers are having issues? It's really disappointing. I think it's really disappointing. I mean, I would buy another Surface device just because for me there was just nothing to compare it in terms of its form factor and the aesthetics of it and the feel of it. That they are quality devices, but I think there is a part of me that would really be reluctant to kind of trust the brand. I mean, there's just been issues after issues, and like I say, companies make mistakes, things go wrong, that can't be helped. Apple aren't immune from this, but communication is key.
Yeah, I mean that forum is becoming. It would just take a few posts in there from Microsoft to say, "Yeah, we know, we hear you, we're working on it." The game's not, we're not all lost, but it's starting to become quite toxic in there if they're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of us have tried to kind of calm things down. So look, let's be realistic here. Microsoft will fix it if they have to. I'm sure there's no doubt in my mind that they won't do some kind of Xbox 360 style.
I was just going to say, this reminds me so much of the Red Ring of Death.
Yeah,
same approach, the same silence, and then suddenly, because they were getting people to pay for Xbox replacements back then as well, or servicing. And eventually came back and said, "Oh yes, we will refund everybody," and all that sort of stuff. But I think you nicked it on the head the other time. I think, Jason, when you talked about legal getting involved. I'm sure legal are involved in a big way here, and legal in Microsoft works so slowly. It's unbelievably slow stuff. Anything gets into the legal pile, it's gone for 20 years. I mean, I know we've been trying to arrange an interview with someone from the Microsoft team for about the last 2 to 3 years, and every week I ask them, they say, "No, it's still with legal. Still got to get permission from legal before I can talk to you." How can it take that long? But if it does, and that was definitely the case with the Xbox as well. It took ages for them to get through legal, and then once it did, everything was good.
I mean, it's potentially a massive recall, isn't it? If they
it is,
have to do it.
And rightly so. It should be a recall in this situation. It's not a safety issue, but it is a.
That's back to that debate we had. You know, we had someone. You brought a guest on the show, and we talk about that.
Yeah. But it's not a safety issue, but it is a fundamental issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I know there's quite a few people from America on the boards. They're talking about getting together with a class action suit, and a couple of people from the kind of Europe, UK have pointed out exactly the point you made, Gary, about in the UK, even if you only got a 1 year guarantee, there is a what is it? Goods has to be of a kind of certain quality or
merchantable quality, which is bad because it's not doing what it's expected to do, and also you get 3 year warranty in the EU anyway at the moment. But,
I mean, I still do have my warranty. I'm okay up to December, so I'm leaving it until I know that I'm actually going to get a device that's isn't going to suffer the same failure.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you don't know. I have to say I'm pretty skeptical about it being a software fix. I think, having read what they were saying on there and the Ars Technica thing about IC, the integrated circuit chips within the battery packs, it does make me think that it's going to be extremely difficult to fix your firmware, but Microsoft
Well,
obviously know better than me. So.
Having said that some batteries are firmware programmable from the device, so they have a bus which you can interface with, and some of them can be firmware upgraded from that. It's no different in some ways to upgrading a USB device,
right?
Yeah.
So it is feasible, but it depends how the battery pack's sorted.
I mean, a couple of people have put links in that long forum post now with to the iFixit teardowns, kind of using that as evidence that it might not be remotely fixable, that it might be a case of, yes, it's flashable, but it requires the device to be sent in for service. But what would concern me there is, do I wipe the device before sending it in? Will it definitely be my device that I get back again? And again, a couple of people in the forum have kind of said, look, I've taken really good care of my device. There's no scratches on it. It's always, treated with tender, loving care. I don't want a replacement device or a refurbished device.
Yeah, it's not an easy fix, that's for sure. And it does, at first we were talking small numbers of people, weren't we? But just looking at that forum, and there's a large volume of people, and that's just people who've managed to get to this forum page. So I imagine the number is a lot higher than that.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, you only need to look through the feedback hub, and there's all sorts of people reporting. You search for Surface Pro 3 battery, and you get a load of hits with people saying, and obviously they're blaming it because they're on the insider program. They think it's just an instability in the Windows 10 build, but people on that long forum thread have tried reverting back to Windows 8, and it's still exactly the same problem.
Yeah, and it's a shame because, like you said, the form factor for me is the best I've come across, and I've tested a lot of devices recently, and I still love the form factor of the Surface, and definitely that's my favorite device. So I hope they can get it fixed, and and then get it satisfactory solution for all the people involved.
Yeah, certainly hope so. Yeah.
Talking about failures as well, I've had to return my Microsoft Band 2.
Again, yeah. Because the Band 1 had quite a few.
That one snapped.
Yeah.
Which was a design fault, really, and it separated apart. So I returned that. I think did I return that once or twice? I think that was just once, wasn't it? The Band 2, the heart rate monitor stopped on it. It just says where did you go when you look at the heart rate monitor, and I looked again on the forums. This is the problem with Microsoft having forums like this. Of course, you do tend to congregate together, and but it's a common fault. Seems many people have had that, where it's something to do with the sensor. It just doesn't work, or it maybe works if you put it into a certain mode. But the telltale sign, there's no green light. But the green light does come on if you put it into workout mode. So there's obviously something going on. But I mean, just to be sure, I did a hardware reset of the Band. I even uninstalled the health app on my Lumia, wiped the Band, did it as a brand new device, and didn't fix it. So I contacted the support and just getting it returned like I did with my other ones. So I'll be on my fourth Band by this stage.
I noticed Amazon's. Someone tweeted out that Amazon were now saying when you ask for a replacement, don't you want a refund instead?
Yes,
sort of actually advising people to get a refund. So that's somewhat worrying.
It is, yeah, and it's a shame, really. I mean, I've been using my Band less really since I got the Android device, which I really like, but still I do like the Band, and I've been wearing it. So I thought I might as well get it replaced, even though I don't really necessarily use the heart rate monitor all the time. I thought it's still better to get it replaced while it's under warranty. But I'm not alone in that one. There's battery issues with that as well. So it just makes you wonder whether at some point they'll say, this hardware business is hard work. Maybe we should just revert to being software.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because we did say a few weeks ago, the job of the Surface set out to do has been done, hasn't it? The OEMs have picked up the form factor, and maybe there isn't a need for that, and maybe Microsoft will decide that the Surface Book and the Surface Pro 4 are as far as they need to take it. Although having said that, they're making a lot of money with them now, so compared to what they were doing originally. So I don't know, but certainly the band, I do wonder about that. They do seem to have had a lot of hassle with returns of the band. And it just shows you that software is hard and so hardware.
Yeah, particularly something that's permanently been taken, put on and off. These things need charging. What is it, every day or every other day? So, it is, probably, I'm sure receives more fair wear and tear than just opening and closing a laptop, etc. They're on your wrist, so they're kind of getting knocked and bashed and caught and whatnot. So yeah, it's tough to get these things right, and it's Microsoft are. I know they've been making hardware in terms of mouse and keyboards for quite a while, but in terms of electronic devices, apart from the Xbox, they are relatively still new to the game, and unfortunately, their track record isn't very good.
Yeah, and we do see with those Microsoft the third version is the one to go for, which is probably right with the Surface Pro 3. So maybe the Band 3 will be the device that gets it right.
Yeah. So what you're saying then is that the Xbox Scorpio is the one to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Although that's not. No, what's the third generation is the Xbox One, isn't it?
In terms of Xboxes, yes. I was thinking the third generation of Xbox. The Xbox One.
Xbox One, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the Xbox One S is out today, isn't it? Or available?
Right. It is, yes.
Well, it's actually sold out as of today in the UK.
Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah, it's. I mean, you wouldn't expect it to sell necessarily in that kind of high volume, would you? I mean, it certainly seems to be people looking to replace the original Xbox One, and certainly some really good things coming out about with the internal power supply, and I know it's obviously got Josh Pollard talks about this a lot with it having the UHD drive. It's almost like the PlayStation 3 was the kind of Trojan horse in terms of a Blu-ray drive, and I think at the moment the Xbox One is carrying that mantle with the UHD drive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, how long that'll be, I'm not sure, because obviously PlayStation's new version's coming out at some point, and that probably have a similar thing. But
I won't be replacing mine. I mean, mine doesn't. Forza Motorsport and Netflix is about all my gets used for, really.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit that it's a bit like the Surface Pro 4 for me, really. That those small little tweaks are tempting, but they aren't enough to make me jump. I mean, having that internal power supply, I think, is that equivalent of the Surface Pro 4 for me. Because having that brick sitting next to the Xbox One, particularly if you don't keep it clean from dust, it can start to get a bit noisy. Particularly with us with hardwood flooring, it hasn't got a carpet to kind of dampen its sound. Yeah.
Well, it's funny enough though. You can tell. I mean, my kids love their Xbox, but they've not asked for one of these. But I mean, they wouldn't get one if they asked anyway. But, it's not something they've even hinted at. So I don't think it's particularly on their radar. I think maybe the Scorpio, isn't it? Is what they would look at next.
That was a frustrating thing for me because we literally just bought the kids their Xbox One at Christmas 2015, so I kind of wish we'd waited a little bit longer, but there you go.
There's always something in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I think Scorpio would probably be the next time we take a jump up.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm actually quite tempted by the Xbox One S because obviously I haven't got Xbox One at the moment. The 4K tempts me from a video playback point.
Yeah. And it's a nice device, especially for now. You can get the anniversary update on there, and you've got all the apps are starting to come through on there.
Yeah. As a media playback device, it's starting to become quite interesting.
I mean, I use my Xbox for DVD, Blu-rays, and Netflix. I mean, that's its main use, really.
And the good thing about the 4K is it perfectly matches our broadband speed. That's sufficient, isn't it? That's sufficient for streaming 4K for a 4 megabit connection.
4 meg, that's all you need. That's fine. Don't worry about that.
Xbox One S for slow.
Now, we'll talk about the anniversary update. Oh, the team. Just before we move off the Xbox as well. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about the Groove Music app coming to the Xbox One, and it would be the Universal app?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we said, well, what happens with the video playback? Which is that really nice feature. So I don't know if you've seen this, but if you're on the Groove app on the Xbox One and you play music back from your own collection or if you've got a Groove Pass and there happens to be a matching video, so there's a pop video that goes with it, then it would play that as an option, which is one of my favorite features of that app. And we said, well, what will happen with that? Well, We now know it's going or it's gone.
Microsoft keep doing this, don't they? They keep it happened with the kind of Zoom player and the Zoom music player when they switched onto the more updated music player and turned off Zoom. And I'd like to see it come back. I mean, I don't know whether or not they've done it because they've got some licensing deal coming to an end, but I mean, we haven't got a Zoom. We haven't got a Groove Music Pass anymore. But when we did, it was quite often that we'd put music on the Xbox One and play it through the Sonos that way, just for that feature. No,
it is. They said they heard that people like the feature and they are intending to bring it back soon.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd quite like to see it on the desktop app, to be honest.
I think if we do get it back soon, it will.
That's
be on
exactly. That's what I put in the blog post because it's a universal app, isn't it?
Yeah. It's quite odd when you're looking through the store now on Xbox One and you see an app like Groove app or the Netflix app, and it's shows available for Xbox One, PC, and mobile.
Yeah. So I haven't put the preview on my Xbox yet, so I haven't got to try this yet. But from what I've seen of the screenshots, it's the universal app, so it's the same version that's out there for the PC as well. And I think it makes sense to have that universal app, but I just expect the videos will actually come back, will come the PC way, if anything, which it would be great if it does.
Yeah, so because I actually uninstalled the original Groove app from our Xbox One and put the preview app on there, and then went to play it, and it just comes up with a big flash screen saying "Coming soon, the new Groove app on Xbox One." That's all it did.
Well, it's out now.
I haven't. Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to try it yet.
So anyway, it's coming soon. So when is that? We don't know.
Yeah, well, certainly. I mean, it's certainly out to, as you say, to the preview members. And what's been quite surprising is even after the Xbox One summer update was released at the weekend, which I wasn't expecting it till today. But literally the next day, we got a new preview build for the Xbox One, so they're clearly not standing still.
Yeah, I got an update over the weekend, so that's the non-preview build, wasn't it? Because I haven't actually switched that on.
It would be, yeah. That was summer update, yeah. Which really shocked me. It went out over the weekend. I thought they were, planning a simultaneous release on the 2nd of August. But there we go.
Now, I said we got an email, so we'll do that before we talk anniversary update, and then Gary can do his as well.
So this, be here well on mine.
Okay, well we'll keep this one brief. This is from Mike, and he's asking a question that we haven't really talked about a lot in the last year, but it's something we have talked about a lot in the past, which is replacements for Windows Media Center. And he said he's been using Intel NUC running Windows Media Center on Windows 7, recorded to a Silicon Dust HD home run from Comcast cable, and the shows are then archived to his home server 2011. Which is actually running on a VM on Windows Server 2012. It's reliable and works well, but all tinkerers were looking for other things. I tried upgrading to Windows 10, but couldn't figure out installation of PVR encoding and just rolled back because the wife became irritated not being able to watch recorded TV shows. I have room for more VMs. I'm running Windows 10, was thinking of experimenting with another PVR solution. As an experiment, would need to get a VM to run TV signal from HD home over a network and save the programs to the home server. Does this sound feasible? Which software would you recommend doing that, and what structure? Since then, I actually chatted to him, and just to add to that, he said he found a showstopper using that sort of scenario is that RDP and VMs found that HD home run TV won't work because of graphic limitations. So it sounds a bit complicated, but overall, he's just looking to use Windows 10 to record TVs and store them on a home server. So what do you think? Good solutions for him?
I don't know. See, I tried to do something similar to this back in the Media Center days, which was to virtualize the media center, because at the time I was using DVB logic, and I actually got it up and running, but the main issue I had, which I think was probably solvable, was purely about bandwidth. So what with the DVB link tuner software running natively on like the host, and then the virtualized media center, and then the Xbox extender trying to talk to the media center and trying to get the TV signal through, it ended up falling down and not managing to really get it to work. But I'm almost certain that was to do with bandwidth. And I think if I'd have actually invested in putting multiple network cards in, and then having a dedicated network card for the TV tuner signal, a dedicated network card for the VM, and a dedicated network card for the actual host machine, I think I probably with good gigabit Ethernet probably have got it working. But certainly some. Like I say, whether or not that would still be an issue these days, I don't know. But that would be the first thing that would spring to mind, just bandwidth.
Yeah. And I think the issue with trying to watch live TV over RDP would be a potential problem.
Yeah, that's what. I mean, thinking bandwidth-wise, all the new stuff in Windows 10 will probably actually help with that, with the virtualization. Because we obviously had all those changes on the network stuff on virtualization, which would probably make it easier to do that. And the USB virtualization is a lot better as well. I'm just wondering if it's actually worth doing it. it's. I mean, there's so many other solutions now. I mean, I picked up a MyBook Duo the other week to actually handle some backup stuff, and that's got DVB logic built into it. And works exceptionally well. Just plug a couple of USB tuners in the back, and you've got the recording and everything. And you just need the client end. That could be at a VM, but you don't necessarily need to run everything in the one VM nowadays, or two on the one machine these days, I guess. And there's so many cheap PCs out there as well. Well, it's sort of like, do you actually use one PC for this, or do you actually have multiple CPUs and do it?
Yeah, and you can get away from watching live TV or recorded TV on a VM and RDP by using network streams. So that's probably a better solution as well.
I mean, and there's things like the V Plus box I was using and talked about a couple of months in Fascinating Tech last year, which is basically a network tuner. You've got the silicon dust stuff that can work as well, and you can then watch TV on the web, which actually gets around a lot of the issues. I mean, I know none of these are as nice as using Media Center, because Media Center was a fabulous and still is a fabulous interface for live TV. But the other thing you've got is something like Media Browser.
Media Browser, Media Portal. Well, Media Browser is now MB.
Yes, MB or Media Portal. Actually, I was probably more thinking Media Portal, because you've got the TV plugins for that. You can actually do. You have on Media Browsers on MB as well, and on Kodi you've got the possibilities. I mean, you've got loads of possibilities of using things like a Raspberry Pi as an extender, for example. So there's lots of other options out there now.
I remember Josh Pollard also, you started talking quite a bit about DLNA type interfaces, but that seems to have kind of died a bit of a death.
Yeah, I think the standard's sort of going away on DLNA. What's going to be big, and it's been pushed quite a lot by Qualcomm, but that just seems to have vanished, as does a lot of the standards Qualcomm have been pushing. But I think the main issue is that the demand's just not there for recorded TV and DVRs now.
Yes, that's really my point.
I mean, I can't actually remember the last time I watched something off the DVR. I've got one, but I've got so many streams now, and so many catch-up things, which actually have all the programs I want to watch on them. And at a lot cheaper price than the TV subscriptions used to be.
I mean, we've still got a Humex box, and the only reason we watch recorded TV now is just convenience. It's quicker to find something on there than it is to go through the different catch-up services, and if it's kind of not on the home screen anymore, trying to find it. So, but no, I mean, I'm definitely with you on that, Gary. And so I think really my general advice would be to try and look at some kind of client server rather than relying on RDP. Would be to look at something, some products that you've mentioned where they actually have, Android or iOS clients that you just watch natively through a stream.
Yeah, and Holiday Boy in chat room says Media Portal as well. Yeah.
And you know what? I can actually recommend a really good book about this subject, written by my colleague Ian, and possibly me as well.
Yes, still on sale in all good bookshops.
Currently in edit, is it?
But to be fair, that actually a lot of this is covered in that, so it's worth having a look.
Yeah, so I think Media Portal is definitely one worth looking at because of the architecture. But like you said, MB, Kodi, there's a lot of options. So feel free to drop us an email back, Mike, and when listeners have got any suggestions, we'll talk about that on next week's show. Now, go on, Gary. If you got your email, then we'll talk anniversary update.
Okay, so this is actually switching over to the home automation side of things. A guy called Tristan Davis is a listener who also listens to the Home On podcast I was on in the States, and he'd been listening to it, and he said he loves all things tech. He's his job is about broadcast and AV. He currently has a smart thing set up at home, which is the Samsung now owned hub, and he's got Wemo and Hue hard coded hub, but he's actually noticed that that's really quite expensive to set up, and from what I said on Home on the show, he's been looking at the Home Easy approach. So he had quite a few questions. So his questions were: do I use a PC or a Pi, or do I get a dedicated hub to control all the 433 megahertz Z-Wave and Zigbee devices? What software would I recommend? He'd looked at OpenHab and Vox Commando. I do like Vox Commando. He likes the idea of touch and voice in rooms via tablets. And what hardware would I recommend? He was thinking of using the Pi with a 43 megahertz transceiver attached to the GPIO. So he's picked up a load of cheap home easy switches. So he definitely was going to do this. So this is actually, my view on this has changed over the years, because I think when we were last talking home automation a couple of years back, I was using the PC, Vox Commando on there, and I still do use that because I like the voice control. But the main control for my home automation system has now moved to the Raspberry Pi.
Right.
And I'm using a piece of software called Domotics, which is freeware. That's actually also available on Windows as well. And one of the beauties of Domotics is that you can actually run it on multiple Pis throughout the house, and they can talk to each other. So you can actually have a switch on one of the devices being controlled from one of the other devices. It's really easy to set that up, which gets around a lot of the range issues with 433 megahertz stuff, because a lot of transmitters don't transmit particularly far. And of course, we had this conversation about with the Z-Wave Alliance guy, where he was talking about the fact that on Z-Wave you get feedback that you've actually got a switch switched, and of course you don't get on 433. So you need to have that reliability that is actually going to switch the switch. So that's the model I've moved to. I've sort of almost got a node approach now, where I've still got the PC, which I can control with voice, but that actually sends signals out to the Pis, which are running Dometics, and they then send out transmissions using a combination of controllers. So the hardware-wise, I've actually got things called RFX COM plugged into them, which is an RFX TRX 433, which is a fairly expensive transmitter receiver, but has a really good software support, so it controls a lot of devices, not just the home easy ones. It will control doorbells and a lot of other 433 megahertz devices which are out there. And I'm also using a thing called RF Link, which is a cheaper device based on an Arduino. So you can actually build this yourself as well. And I recommended that to Tristan because he's obviously got the skills to build these things. So I think that basically covered off what I was thinking about. But I was interested in you guys, because I'm really the home automation guy in the team here, aren't I?
Yeah.
And do either of you have any form of home automation?
I've got nothing set up at all now. I used to have some X11 stuff, and I haven't got anything at all. I use if then that kind of thing. So I'm actually quite keen to try something. I just haven't sort of got round to setting myself a project. I've got a Pi 3 sat there ready, so I could have a go at something and an Arduino.
Yeah, I haven't got anything at all, unfortunately, on that.
I always find this intriguing, because obviously I find it very convenient for me, but I can understand where when you've got families involved and things like that, it could become more difficult. And mine's set up so that I always think home automation has to survive the babysitter test. It's not like I have a babysitter in here, but I had the idea of the babysitter to actually
you just get them around anyway.
But the idea that someone could walk into the room and actually still control it.
Yeah, I think part of that is a family thing, because you could have an elaborate configuration, which is always nice to play with, but then when you're, I'm working away for the week or whatever, and no one can do anything at home, then that's the issue, isn't it? And that's the test you've got to pass.
Yeah, so it's like in my setup, the wall switches are standard wall switches. You switch them on and off, and they turn lights on and off. They just happen to be automated behind the scenes as well. And I think any system where the control is not the switch on the wall becomes an issue.
Yeah, I'd like to have a bit of light automation maybe, and I used to use the X11 one all the time for the outside Christmas lights, which were very handy to switch on at certain times, rather than just a straight timer. You could actually say, well, actually during the weekend I want them on earlier, and all that kind of rule-based stuff. But it's not really something I've played with that much.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things which I find particularly useful is the intelligent home stuff where it does things automatically for you, which you always want to happen, like when you come in the door and it's dark and the lights come up.
Yeah.
And you can get in. But there's other things where it's just pure convenience, like actually being able to have a remote control switch beside the bedside. You can turn off all the lights in the house. That's a very convenient thing.
Yeah.
So I think there are some advantages, but it is interesting because I talk to a lot of people who are interested in home automation, and particularly talking to Richard on Home On, the people who listen to that show, that there's a real enthusiasm for it. But also you talk to a lot of people and they say, well, I can't see any point in it. I can't see why I'd ever want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it's definitely something I'm kind of interested in. It feels. I mean, I don't listen to Home On, which I know it's Richard, isn't it? Richard Gunther does a great show. I'm not listening to an episode, but as an outsider, it seems like a really daunting subject in terms of knowing which platform to go to, particularly as a Windows Phone user. Knowing which systems are going to have the apps available, but it is something that interests me. So, for example, occasionally I'll forget to close our garage because we've got remote controls on the garage that were fitted before we moved in, and it would be nice to, if it got to midnight, that it would just close. If it was open, it would just close, and little things like that. As you say, just being able to make sure all the lights are off, or particularly kind of from a heating perspective as well, in terms of having it automatically turn down when it's warm and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the heating's one thing. As I've mentioned this before, I can't actually automate in my flat because I wouldn't be able to rip out the current stuff I've got in and its storage users. But I've got that intelligence in the house that it tells me before it knows I'm going to bed because I'm turning the lights off. And it says, Gary, do you want to turn the heating down because it's going to be hot overnight? And you don't need the storage heaters in the morning. Those things I think are really useful. The garage door one's interesting because that's actually came up on the Home On episode I was on. And Richard was talking about a solution that they come up with that, and I've got a slightly different solution to that idea, where the idea is how you actually detect that a garage door is open. You can use some sort of tumbler switches and things like that. All I've got is a camera pointing outside, and if it sees the door's not shut, it warns me. But you can tell by light levels. But yeah, so I think there's lots of things you can do on those types of things. But I'd be interested in listener feedback on that as well. What ideas people are actually coming up with for using home automation, if they are. I did like Holiday Boy's comment. Zigbee, bring back the magic roundabout. Not quite right. I think that's 70, but anyway.
So my latest setup now is, I think I mentioned this last week actually, but where my HP Touch Smart failed, I replaced that with a record player.
Yeah.
So I spent all weekend listening to records. So connected to the Sonos, which then wirelessly streams it to the other Sonos as well. So I've got the multi-room audio from the record player. So you've got kind of best of both worlds there.
I think that's great. Those sort of things are really good. I love the analog to digital interfaces. That's really cool.
Yeah, and it was funny. We had some friends round over the weekend on Saturday night, and I was actually putting vinyls on, and it was like a dinner party from the 1970s. So some of my parents would have done, but I had Dark Side of the Moon and Tubular Bells on, so I felt very 70s. Then I got a bit modern and put Dire Straits Brothers in Arms on, so into the 80s. So that's what my latest setup. But actually, it's very convenient. It's actually because you've got the remote control for the volume and you've got the multi-zone and everything. But it just the only the way you've got the on-demand music changes. You shout one of the kids to flip the record.
Yeah, that's home automation.
Yeah. So
voice-controlled home automation.
Voice controlled. Yeah, put side 2 on.
And that's the way all homes used to be controlled.
Yeah, that's where when I was a kid, it was like put ITV on.
See, that's why people had kids back in the 70s, to be the home automation system.
But yeah, you're right. It is interesting. It is an interesting debate, and I think it's, as we've mentioned many times on the show in the past, it's a thing that seems to be more prevalent in America with just the way that the homes are built. And I think if you were doing a new build, you would perhaps build that in, but unlike 3-pin wired plugs or whatever, the standards do change. And when I first started talking, it was X11, and that's completely obsolete now. So he had gone to the cost of wiring your whole house for X11. It's kind of out of date that now, and there's something else. And so there is that danger that you building a technology into your home that will be obsolete. But I suppose with wireless, it's less of an issue. It's more about controllers and smart devices then.
Yeah, and a lot of the American standards are coming over here as well now, because we've got Zigbee with some of the smart bulbs. We've got Z-Wave is coming quite strongly in the last few months. Maplin are now stocking Z-Wave devices, Z-Wave, whatever you want to call it. But the cheapest way, as we was talking about in that email, the Home Easy stuff, because it's basically obsolete in the UK because nobody's selling it other than online, but you can pick it up for peanuts, sort of like £2 for a light switch, which you can't get on any other technology.
I definitely have to think about that, but I do like using it with the if then and that type service where you can,
which you can with Domotics. Domotics is really good at pulling loads of different services together. You can do virtually anything on it.
Well, that's where you've got like the GPS from your phone triggers lights coming on and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I've got beacons using which I'm detecting from Bluetooth thing in the Pi to actually work out whether I'm in the room or not.
I think what probably puts me off, aside from the sort of the family issue of getting everything working, is just the fact that you've got replacing all the light switches and light bulbs and things. It just seems to be a lot of effort to get that complete control. I don't know about you, Jason, but that's kind of probably one of the main barriers.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
All that.
But how many light switches have you got in your home?
Well,
too many.
But 20 is most of the things. So for around 60 quid, you could replace all of those.
Yeah, and then you've got to do it.
Yeah, well, that's not that difficult. Get someone.
No, it's not, because I did all mine myself. But it's just
and light switches are still one of the things you are allowed to change. Yeah. So you could do that. So I mean, something like a Home Easy switch, or even Lightwave RFs, which are starting to come down in price, that they can be wired in pretty straightforwardly. You don't have to worry about changing different light fittings or any wiring changes. It all just works.
I think probably if I was going to do something, I'd start with my little man room that I'm in now, which has got all my synths in, and when I'm doing the recording. So because there's only me really uses this room, so it's automated here.
Put some mood lighting in.
Yeah, so when I come in, it switches all the synths on. That it takes you 10 minutes to do that. So
yeah, that sort of thing. Those sort of things are really easy to do.
Yeah, I'll probably have a look at that. So it's another thing though. I know that what I'm like. Once I start to get into it, then I'd end up going right down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, it is a rabbit hole. That's for sure.
Yeah. So going back, we did promise we'd talk about Windows 10. The anniversary update, we said, is out today. And I did say on Twitter, it's being a Windows insider is a bit like saying you can have your Christmas presents in April and you're allowed to use them every day. But then when on Christmas Day, you have nothing to open.
Yeah, it's very much like that.
Yeah, but we kind of get the reverse of that though, because when you actually go back to an old build, you kind of really have that head scratching moment where you try and find out where everything is.
Yeah. So last week I put my Surface Pro 4 on the release preview ring, and that picked up the update. I think it was on Thursday, wasn't it? They released that last week. Actually, we should mention this. Actually, come on, Jason.
Yes, I hate to say I was right, but yes, I was right. Just I predicted the. But I don't know if you saw this, but did you see people complaining that they were on the release preview ring and they were getting 14393?
Yes. Yeah. I thought, that's the very definition of release.
Yeah, they said. Yeah. Yes, exactly. They were saying, but I'm only supposed to get preview updates to the current branch. They're like, yes, as of today, 14393 has become the current branch. Hence, you're getting it. So yeah, you opt into an insiders. You have to expect the unexpected. And it was like, yeah, but it says only stable builds. Went, yeah, this is a stable build.
Yeah,
it's really low risk, and yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why I thought. So I've actually left the Surface Pro 4 on the release preview ring because that's not going to get a Redstone build 2 build for some time, I would imagine.
No.
Yeah, and it is the best way to kind of get apps slightly, before anybody else, and obviously the cumulative updates that get released go out to insiders first. But yeah, it just made sense to me that they would do this. I mean, the problem with insiders is they probably get a lot of telemetry in terms of insider build to insider build upgrades, but in terms of the previous release to general availability build going to the next general availability build, that telemetry is quite limited, I expect. So using people on the release preview makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it does mean now that people who had non-supported Windows 10 or Windows Phone 8 devices, if you hadn't already used the kind of cheat to get onto Windows 10 mobile threshold 2, then that door is now firmly shut.
By 6:30, he's done on that now. So
which is actually quite good for me, because my wife, who's got my old Lumia 920, which is starting to get a bit dated now, whenever she picked up my phone or my son's Lumia 640, she's like, I don't understand this, everything's moved around. I was almost getting to that point where, should I put it on her phone? So fortunately that door was firmly closed before I opened that.
So the anniversary update's out today. It's going to via Windows Update. I did see, and I think you, Jason, you joked about this, some posts of how to get the update.
Although I think, actually, to be fair, I think Don Osaka gave the all the information needed to try and kind of jump the queue.
I noticed here that this Dell that I'm on doing the recording, the XPS, hasn't picked up the update yet. So so it says there's no updates available. Your device is up to date, so it's still on some kind of staggered rollout. But I do remember that last time, didn't my Surface get it before other devices, and then the third-party OEMs seem to take a little bit longer?
Yeah, I know. I think Donna was saying that basically going to target newer devices first. I don't know quite how the Surface Pro 3s are going to get on installing the anniversary update, but I must admit I've not had any problems installing builds. But I always do that plugged into mains anyway. So, so I don't know what their definition of new devices actually is. Whether or not they've got some kind, I'd imagine there's some kind of arbitrary number of years old. But I think I'm going to leave my Surface Pro 2 to naturally update as and when it's ready, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do with this machine and my machine at work. But the Surface Pro 3 and Pro 4 and my little tablet are all on the update via the Insider program, and it's working fine. It's really good, actually. The Surface Pro 4. It's funny, when that was on the threshold 2, I did prefer using the Surface Pro 3 because it was on the Insider builds, and I like the Windows Ink and everything else. And so now it's got the same version, and I actually prefer using the Surface Pro 4 now, just because of the slightly better hardware. But it was worth sacrificing that hardware for the new features of the anniversary update. So it just got to show it is a good update. And like you said, when you go on an old machine, you kind of think, oh, where is that?
I mean, it has been really rock steady. Although I was looking at my reliability report, and I noticed I've actually had about three spontaneous reboots over the last few days. But obviously, one of my issues I do face is that if the Surface Pro 3 gets to a state where it's drawing more power than it's actually able to replace, it can run out of battery. So, which again, people are reporting in the forum. So I don't know if it's that or just some kind of late instability that's kind of crept in. But overall, I mean, I'd have no qualms about opting somebody into release preview if that was a way to get the build quicker. Because apart from what I noticed today, it's been absolutely rock solid.
Yeah, and the update is also available as an ISO as well on the various ways through the tools and from Microsoft directly.
I think did I see that the media creation tool now needs a key?
Oh, does it?
I think Richard Hay was talking about that. He might have had a post up. I don't know if they're necessarily going to implement that straight away, but I think that might be the way now that the free update's ended.
Yeah.
Because I guess what they don't want is somebody coming across that tool, downloading the build, using it to upgrade their machine, and then suddenly finding that they've got an unauthorized copy.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
So
and we won't talk about. I saw some of the ridiculous things about how to cheat the system to get the upgrade. Now it's not free.
Yes.
But if you spent a year procrastinating over getting the update, why would you then the following days go through hoops to try and get in through the back door? It just doesn't make any sense.
I think people just like to cheat the system, don't they?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I really don't know why. I don't know why you do that. So,
but on the positive side, it means we haven't had people going, it's not fair, I've missed out on the free update.
Yeah.
Why didn't anybody tell me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I must admit, I did like some of the screenshots towards the end of I think was it Glasgow Airport with the update to Windows 10. Now you've only got 1 day left.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah. Yeah.
I always take some of those with a pinch of salt because you never know if they've been photoshopped, because it must be quite easy. But yeah,
the old blue screen thing was photoshopped quite often, wasn't it? But,
yeah. Although I did see that plenty of times walking around the tube stations in London with blue screens and sorts of unactivated copies and all sorts.
Yeah. I also did a post this week as well on sort of how to prepare your machine in case, mainly around disk space and the issue that we've talked about a couple of times, where it kind of stops downloading the update and corrupts the install, and how to clear that corruption out.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but I saw someone contact Don Osaka, and I pointed them at your site, and they actually reported back saying, yeah, that had worked. So yeah, definitely useful information, which doesn't seem to be that freely available.
Yeah, and so I put a couple of troubleshooting tips in there as well, and a couple of readers actually sent me some listeners and tweets and things, so I've sort of collated them together and put them in there. So if you have any updates, that's any issues getting the update, that's worth having a look at.
I don't know if you saw my my happy response to your email today. I don't know when this changed, but the latest, I don't know if this is still only in the preview version, but the latest version of the email app finally doesn't include yourself when you do a reply all.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, how long have I been waiting for that?
I know.
That's good. That.
I can report that MSDN has the 1607 build in it available now.
Oh.
Yeah, excellent. But yeah, definitely, I think anyone listening that has been holding back, don't. My advice would be, don't worry about this update. I think it's in a really good place. It really takes Windows 10 up to the next level. As I've mentioned numerous times, I now use the start experience on full screen, which I much prefer. The Action Center's so much more improved. And I think probably the only people left behind are the Windows 10 mobile people.
Yeah, and the mobile version isn't technically available yet, is it?
No, I was just reading that on Thurrott.com. I don't know if how widely it's been reported, but apparently it's not officially released. But then the mobile and phone builds have always been in this odd limbo, because I think they talked about with Windows 10 mobile, they were going to be circumventing the mobile carriers a bit more. But interestingly enough, we didn't get the cumulative update for PC on mobile yesterday.
It's the .5 still, isn't it, on mobile?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as far as we can tell, and it seems to be backed up by some of Donna's comments, that it isn't actually officially released. Or whether or not that's because it's waiting for carriers, or whether or not they still got a few bugs to squash, I don't know. But I mean, again, my Lumia 930 has been absolutely fantastic running on the 0.5 release. So I've got no issues in terms of me feeling it's ready or not.
I think if anybody, especially if you've got a new device, if you've got a 950 or the 950 XL or even the 550, if you know enough about Windows 10 mobile to want the update, then you're going to be on the insider program on the minimum on the release preview ring anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, I wonder how many Windows 10 mobile users on the
that's what I thought.
I think the only word of warning I would give, if people are tempted to join the release preview program and get the update ahead, is just remember it will remove any Here apps that you've still got installed.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes.
It should rebranded to something else now, haven't they?
Yeah, here we go. Oh dear. Although actually, didn't they officially stop working on the 31st of July anyway?
They did, yes. So,
was it?
But they still work on Windows Phone 8. So
yeah, yeah. But no, if you've got Windows 10 mobile Threshold 2 build and you upgrade to the anniversary update through the Insider program, then you will lose those apps. They're literally not carried over.
Right. Yeah.
Talking about that,
and the radio app.
Yes. And the important. Talk about the Maps app on Windows 10. When did they add traffic cameras to that?
Oh, a long while ago.
Well, on the mobile side.
Yeah. A long while.
I'd never noticed that. It shows how much observance I've played to that app. But I actually found that really useful at the weekend. So
I think it may have been on since it first shipped.
Maybe it's just something you don't use until you have to.
Yeah. In fact, that's since using Android, there's two things I missed: that and Cortana for text messages. By default, Android doesn't read out your text messages when you're driving. there are third-party apps which you can install, but you don't get the conversation to reply to them. So I've really missed that. But yeah, the cameras are on there. I think they're pretty good, actually. Yeah, it's a nice little feature. I use that when I'm looking at sort of before I set off home to see which looks the best route.
Yeah, well, I was trying to work out a route at the weekend, and had noticed that a particular road was closed, but I didn't know how far along it was closed. And by using the traffic cameras, I could work that out.
Yeah,
so that was really good.
Now, just to finish off, I mentioned that my son got broke his laptop. I think I did mention that last week. Yeah. So rather than just getting a big HP type laptop, because all he was using it for was Netflix and a bit of browsing and YouTube and that kind of thing, I got him the Lynx 1010. Lynx 1010B, which I know has been out a year, hasn't it? I think we saw it last year in fact, it was on sale, wasn't it, last year at the Microsoft event? But it's the first time I've actually played with it. So me and my son did a video review of it, which is on the site, and I've got to say, really nice little device. It's Atom powered, 2 gig of RAM, 32 gig storage on there, but comes with a keyboard, a little docking keyboard, and a really nice little device. 10.2-inch screen, 8 hours of battery, perfect for what he's using it for.
So did you tell him it wasn't his father's Atom?
So this is not Gary's Atom. But a really nice little device.
I like all the Lynxes, actually. I think there must be new models due out as well, because I know Staples have got them all on sale at the moment, sort of saying end of stock.
Yeah, maybe. And this was what, 139?
Yeah.
It's got the Office apps on there from the store. I've got Office 365, so I could put the full Office in, really, which would work fine. But it's basically using it for Netflix, and it was either sort of go that route or look at an Android tablet. But this is much better than an Android tablet, especially as you can use it for Word and Excel for any homework he's got to do. Mm-hmm. So definitely impressed with that, and I'm not seeing if it's got the anniversary update yet, but it should do soon.
It should do soon, yeah.
It did take a good couple of hours to get all the updates installed. But that's the good thing about the cumulative updates, of course, isn't it? That you don't have to go through each one separately.
Yeah, I mean, I updated one of my VMs to the anniversary update, and it just went straight to 0.5, which was the release at the time. So yeah.
So Gary, you're going to say something to finish off?
I said didn't try to use the refresh tool.
No. What we did, it didn't have a lot of crapware on it either, which was quite impressive. I've been testing some other ones, and been testing one out this week, which I'll review maybe next week. But a similar budget device, but very, very slow. And I think perhaps they're not SSDs, are they on the what is it,
the ESDs,
yeah,
eMMC, that's it. eMMC.
Yeah, that's it. But actually, I think the combination of that and actually Windows 10 works quite well for these little devices. Makes them quite snappy.
And to be fair, eMMC is getting faster all the time. It's basically like an SD card to plug in.
Yeah. And of course, it has got an SD card slot as well. So that's what I think we plan to do, is when we go on holiday, he's just going to put an SD card in there with some movies on, and that's his entertainment device for for traveling around. It's a nice little device. So I think that's just about all we've got time for this week. So Gary, where can we find you?
At Gary with 2 R's WMA on Twitter, and at Fascinating Tech, and we will have an issue of Fascinating Tech up shortly, and with Jason's fabulous article he's written for me in there as well. So.
Oh, excellent stuff.
Yes, I think I missed my deadline, so sorry about that, Gary.
That's all right. I've a lot of people missing deadlines this month. It's the holidays.
It's summer. It's summertime. And Jason, where can we find you?
You can find me at Database Jace and on Fascinating Tech.
Yeah, hey, first time you said that. So we should be back next week, same time. A couple of weeks we've got holidays coming up, but next week we'll definitely be here. We'll have our experiences with Windows 10, and I'll see how my Xbox is doing now. I've got the update installed that I haven't really played with since it got on there. So we'll see you back here next week.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep.
All right, see you next week.
Take care, everyone.
Bye bye.